Welcome to the Scrum ChatRoom with Dr. Francis Mbunya. Today we are doing something very exciting and different. We are going to be role-playing on situational question in an interview. But before we begin, let me set the stage. Imagine that you're interviewing in a mid-sized company and they just started implementing Agile. So what they want to do is to find out if you're going to be a good fit to help them go through the process. I will pick out three situational questions, I will ask them, and I'll play dual role. The role of the interviewer and the role of the interviewee. Now, let's start with our first situational question. Can you tell me about a time you dealt with a team member who wasn't contributing effectively? I remember in my previous team, I noticed that one of my developers was constantly disengaged during our daily stand-up. What I did is that I scheduled a one-on-one with them in order to find out the root cause. And I noticed that he was overwhelmed with his tasks because he did not clearly understand what he needed to do. What I did is I partnered him with one of the senior, more experienced developer, and then we helped him break down the tasks into subtasks. So because of this, I saw that in the subsequent sprint, he was more engaged because he had clarity on what he needed to do, and then his performance went up. Remember that in this question, what I did is that I used the STAR technique. What was the situation? The team member was disengaged. Right. What was the task? My task was to work with them. And what was the action? I paired them with another senior developer. What was the result? Performance built up. Let's look at question number 2, which is also another scenario question. And it says that, how do you manage conflicting priorities between multiple stakeholders? In a recent project, I worked with 3 different stakeholders. And what I did was I had to ensure that the backlog was clearly prioritized, given that we were receiving requirements from all of these stakeholders. The first thing I did is I organized a workshop engaging all of these 3 stakeholders in order for us to set clear priorities on how we are going to prioritize the backlog. Now, when we agreed on the priority of work and the urgency of work, it became easier for us to validate the intake process and also to agree on the approach in which they are going to send in their work into the backlog. So because of that, my developer do not have to deal directly with them. So every other sprint, I will sit with these stakeholders, work on their priorities, prioritize them on the backlog, and if anything changes, I ensure that they communicate it to the product owner. So remember that what I also did here is that I used a STAR approach. I had a scenario. There were 3 stakeholders supplying requirement. So what did I do? Set a workshop, met with them. What was the result? We're able now to prioritize our backlog because we're constantly meeting with them in order to assess this priority. Right, so these keys actually show that you can actually play a balance when you have pressure coming from different stakeholders. The first thing is getting alignment with them and ensuring that everyone is in sync with the way that work is prioritized. Question number 3. What strategy do you use to ensure that team achieve their sprint goal? This is a great question. What I do is I start with helping my team commit to the right amount of work. This helps them to be realistic and not to be overwhelmed. I had a situation where in the middle of the sprint, we have urgent work that came in. What I did is I partnered with my product owner and the developers and we reprioritize our backlog. And because of that, we're able to focus on product backlog items that were more of high priority. With this, I help my team to stay focused on their goals. First thing I do, right estimation, right prioritization, and ensuring that the team understand what is important and what is not important. So, this demonstrates that you understand how to help your team focus on goals. What you want to do is, when you're answering situational question, first, make sure that you always use the STAR method. This is a situation, this was a task, this was the action I took, and this was the result. Secondly, focus on specific contributions. Sometimes you might give a very good answer, it's fancy, but it is not concrete. Third, be ready to explain how this approach aligns with Agile principle. When you constantly practice this, you become a pro. If you want to have a mock interview, send me a direct message, Dr. Francis, grant me a 30-minute mock interview, assess how I'm able to deliver during my interview, and if you have any advice, you can give me. But if you also want to belong to a great community where we help you crush that interview by helping you have hands-on experience and also helping you have outstanding resume, making sure that you're doing everything right, feel free to reach out to me, schedule an assessment call, and if you're a good fit, definitely I'm going to invite you to join my community of practice, and we'll help you get that job in less than 90 days. But meanwhile, don't forget to do 3 things. Like, drop a comment, and share if this was useful. I'll see you in my next video.